Okay, it's 7 p.m. I call to order this meeting of the Middlebury Development Review Board for February 13th, 2017. First thing, I'll go over the agenda. We have public communications, and then the approval of minutes for 2 meetings, if possible, and then 1 business item, an application by Middlebury Natural Food Co-op for a PUD amendment to review changes to landscaping plans approved in August of 2016. This property is located at 9 Washington Street, parcel number 25190 in the Village Residential Commercial Zoning District. And then we have deliberative session and other business. So, first item, are there any communications from the public on items, on any item not on the agenda? Hearing none. We have the approval of the minutes for 11:14 and 12:12. I don't think we can approve any of them because we don't have the members here. So we'll go straight to the business item. And that's an application by Middlebury Natural Foods Co-op for a PUD amendment to review the changes to landscaping plans. Would you like to come forward and?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Andrea Murray, and this is Glenn Flower.
Can I-
Nice to sit here.
Yeah, before I have you talk, I'll administer the oath. I affirm that the evidence and information I am giving in this proceeding is true and accurate to the best of my knowledge and belief.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay. You'd like to review the proposed, the existing approval versus the proposed changes? That would help us.
Okay, great. Jennifer, could you go back to the other plan, the colored one, please?
In here
I can show you on the, I have one printed, yeah. So this is the landscape plan that we brought to you folks and was approved this past summer. And some things have changed on the interior of the store, as well as some things with respect to cost. And so there are 3 areas, they're pretty minor, that we have adjusted. This area of green space here had some trees in it and some shrubs. It's going to be a ground cover there, or grassy area, so that the co-op can use that for more tabling and kind of festivals and outdoor events, as opposed to putting a tree there or something, so that the plaza itself can extend into that area. The other area that we are changing is this area right here. I didn't bring the photos of that area from the summertime, but it's actually really beautifully landscaped already. And this entrance here has changed and is going to be mostly a staff entrance, so we didn't want to glorify this as extra seating at this time. But it is beautifully landscaped already. It has many trees in it and perennials and some picnic tables, so we're not touching that area at this time. And then the final thing is just that this tree is not going to be happening as the paving comes in this area. There's a tank under there, or the grease trap clean out is under there, and it just didn't seem really feasible. Make that work.
Thank you.
And so I asked Jennifer, I wasn't sure, whether this warranted coming back in front of everybody here. And so Glenn and my business partner Asher Nelson went to the design advisory And that meeting went very well, and they were in support of these changes, and so I guess procedurally, the next place to come is to you guys.
Okay, so it's the rain garden that you're eliminating, the tree to the left, and then that area to the east of the entrance.
Yeah, so
That-
this
those are-
area
those are
just
the-
isn't, it's still planted, but it's not going to be trees.
Okay,
This area is still green, and it still works as stormwater treatment. There's actually an active stormwater system. So there is a leader that is coming down off of the flat roof and collecting water from the roof of 1 Washington Street as well, and then comes out to the main
Yeah.
storm line along the
now,
street.
originally there was a connection between that and Washington Street, a sidewalk. Is there a connection now? A walking connection?
There's a pathway
Path,
there.
but it
It's
won't-
not really a paved
Okay.
pathway, but there's an opening in the plantings.
Okay.
So yeah, you can access that area.
But it's not something that you're going to encourage?
Not really. I think the intent is to encourage the main customer traffic to come in and out through the main entry.
Okay.
Looking at another print, it shows the tree that's next to Detman and Foley that's on the print there now is there, and that's going to stay.
Yes, so
Right.
this is an existing tree.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. And there's not it's well, you said it's a pathway now. It's nothing that's,
It's kind
Delineated,
of a
it's just a-
little drainage. It was a little drainage swale, I think. It has some crushed stone in it, and people use it as a pathway.
I guess my question would be, on the print there, it shows the cafe entry. If that was down the road to be more than an employee access, let's say, would you plan then to do more of the plantings in the rain garden and stuff? I mean, is it,
Possibly, but I don't think we want a second entrance.
okay,
It's not really a great idea.
Okay,
In grocery
so
retail to have multiple.
further down the line, you've looked at stuff and you said, no, okay,
And our peers up at City Market in Burlington said they had a second entrance, and
Yep.
a year later, they closed it off.
okay,
So
gotcha.
They didn't recommend it either.
Okay. So is not, if I can ask, is not doing the rain garden in coordination with maybe not kind of having that second entrance a little bit?
I think not doing anything in additional there to attract more flow in that area.
Right, that's what I'm, yeah, okay, got it.
Any other questions? Good. From the board?
And just a clarifying question, this is a PUD, correct? Right.
Yes.
So essentially, I mean, we can determine tonight, or whenever, what we want to have happen, but this essentially could come back in front of the board again down the road for other reasons. If we notice something wasn't, being adhered to, or, I'm just playing devil's advocate, but being that it's a PUD, we can bring stuff back in front of the board again, correct?
I can't verify that the fact that it's a PUD would mean that we could pull them back in if something wasn't being adhered to, but it certainly could be explored as a zoning violation.
Okay.
Jen, does the staff have any comments at this time?
Nope.
Okay. All right, we have, okay, is there a motion to either approve it or to go to executive session to discuss it? What's your pleasure? Did I see somewhere where staff suggested we go into executive session?
if we have any conditions to attach.
Okay.
It doesn't seem as though we would have conditions at this time. So I'll make this motion then. I move that the Middlebury Development Review Board, having reviewed the application submitted and having heard and duly considered the testimony presented at the public hearing of February 13th, 2017, approves this conditional use request for expansion of Middlebury Natural Foods Cooperative Building located at 9 Washington Street.
I'll second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion is granted. Approval.
Thank you. Good night.
Very good night.
Other business.
Next meeting?
Yes, next meeting is the 23rd?
Do we,
28th,
28th.
Tuesday,
Tuesday.
7 p.m. I think I sent in the email two different cases. One is for the South Village Lot 5. They're going to be putting in a multi-unit apartment building for rent, and then the other one is a conditional use, a change of use on Park Street from retail to professional. But I'll send you guys a staff notes.
The apartment unit, did we have a preliminary hearing on that at one point? Is that behind the state building?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
we did a site visit for that.
Yes, that's what I was
But I
thinking.
don't know if what we're gonna see is that same proposal, or if it's something
I
different.
don't know.
It'll be a new proposal. So that's an existing PUD, that entire South Village.
Right.
And just like with pediatric dental, how we did an amendment to the PUD for a new occupant, this isn't going to be like an Aldi's grocery store anymore or whatever they had originally thought of there. It's going to be this apartment building instead. So we've got all the plans and the landscaping. It's been through the DAC. They looked at the design, so.
So can we come in that week before and take a look at that?
Yeah, we're going to mail it to you as well.
Right, but I was thinking I would want to do that because I haven't encountered one of those before.
Mm,
So I need to do extra reading.
sure.
Under
Other business.
other business, I've got some stuff to bring up. I just don't know if we want to bring it up under other business or if we want to wait till after we've adjourned.
We may as well do it in open session for open meetings law.
Okay. So one of the things that I have under other business is basically, in a nutshell, is just is enforcement. I mean, we're on the Development Review Board to, as a quasi-judicial board, to rule on proposals that are put ahead of us, or in front of us, according to the town plan. But I guess my question in a nutshell is, it's always been out there, but how do we, enforce some of the rulings that we make? And that was kind of my question with the PUD, with, the food co-op here, is that can we bring them, because it's a PUD, can we bring them back up for review at any time? And I guess the answer is that it depends on whether there's I don't know what you'd want to call it, an infraction or a...
Are you remembering specific language in the PUD section that says that we can call them?
No,
back?
I just remember that previously when Ted Dunnigan was here, he was always talking, the college is a PUD, they're a PUD, the one that we're going to see ahead of it is a PUD. So in my mind, a PUD is kind of this ongoing, planned urban development that can
So there is something in the regulations that says if the zoning administrator decides that that the change within a PUD approval constitutes a substantial change,
Right.
then they'd have to come back in to be reviewed by the board.
Yeah.
And so in the case of the co-op, I got some extra opinions on that, but
Well,
And presumably, if something was deemed by your office to be a violation, they could, in theory, make an application to make it not a violation, and then they'd come back to us.
if the change that they're proposing is substantial.
yeah. What about, let's, for instance, back with the co-op, parking, we know that that when they came in front of us originally, they were, short 12 spaces, but they were going to make that up with a neighbor. But if that's found that they're short on spaces going forward, I mean, is that an infraction that we could?
I think, yeah, well, I think it is. I think I think we had a condition that if they don't have the 12 or whatever it is, 15 spaces, they have to buy them, don't they?
They do, and they have to be, it says in here, that they have to be off-site, but they need to be like close by with, not
As
like.
as far as enforcement, isn't that totally up to either it's the town, it's not this board.
It's the job of the zoning administrator.
It's the job of the zoning administrator.
Right.
Where I'm coming from with this, to be specific, is that, I've noticed, and I had a discussion with Jen, outside of this time frame, is that, one of the big ones that we passed was Deniker Chevrolet. And there's a few things down there that have been taking place that aren't in order with what we deemed needed to happen. And my question was, how do we go about, we made a judgment, how do we go about fulfilling that and making sure that it.
I would think that any of us, as well as any of the citizens of the town, could bring what we see as some sort of violation or aberration to
Right.
Jen's attention. And then you decide if it was within their permission or not.
But yeah, and then, but really, it's up to, if you know of a violation that's brought to your attention, you can only do so much yourself. Then it's up to the town to,
But then it's up to the select board to
select
decide
board to want to
If they
spend the
wanna-
if
money.
they want to give me money
To pursue
for
that.
revenge to take them to court.
That's right. So
Yeah.
it's really, a select
Yeah.
board decision to really do the enforcement
Right.
of zoning violations.
And so there are like different ways of, so since I don't have a badge and I can't really issue like a citation, I wish I could, or cuff them or something, I can ask,
Book 'em.
I can ask nicely, or I can send a stern letter, or I could give them a few different options. I can think of one I had recently where I gave the guy a couple options and said, I could issue a zoning violation, and, well, I asked him nicely first and that didn't work out. So then I was like, well, I could issue you a zoning violation and you could appeal that to the DRB if you want 7 opinions instead of just mine, but it's clear to me that this is a zoning violation and I think they'll back me up. Or we could say that you're in a PUD, we could say that this is a substantial change to your PUD and you could bring a new proposal to them.
Right.
Or easiest of all, you can just bring me a new proposal that remedies your violation and we can work on that together. And then he chose.
What was the answer?
He chose to just fix it without calling me.
Oh, okay,
So,
all right.
it happened. I got some movement in the end, and everybody's going to be different that way.
Right,
In the case of Deniker, my list is pretty long, so
Right.
so I'm thinking that's going to start with a formal letter,
yep,
and then if there's no motion on that, I don't know. Maybe there's something that he's done there that would constitute a significant change that could bring him back in to talk to you guys. That decision was also crafted with a condition that said that if anything was out of order, that you could call him back in anyway. There's a condition, and we could use that condition
yeah.
to bring him back.
Obviously, that's the new big,
The one way to encourage enforcement if something is not according to the conditions is that we can not grant future permits
Right?
for projects on
That's a
that
good point,
particular, on
Kevin.
that
That's
particular
another way to kind
parcel.
of deal with
Yeah.
that. If they want to do something down the line, you know, we can't really approve this new gas station sign if you don't get those dispensers in order the way that you said
Right.
you're going to, or something like that.
So if they're violating any of the criteria we use initially, they're in violation, right?
Right, the conditions in the decision. Or violations of what's shown on the approved final plans.
Yeah.
One of the big things that, you know, was seen was that the car carriers were not, the site was designed so that the car carriers would go out around back and be in the yard, not unload on Route 7, and that's
Are they still
happening.
unloading on Route 7?
Yeah,
Yeah.
both sides.
Hmm.
You know, so it's not that, you know, we're trying to be hard,
No,
but it's a
that's an
safety
important-
issue.
that's an-
I
yes,
mean,
that's
the
an
building was
important aspect.
designed with that in mind, so it would be off, you know, the main street, and it's,
Probably got too much inventory there,
there's a lot of inventory there, yeah.
and he's taking up some of that space.
Right.
I heard on the radio he has the most inventory in the whole. I heard that radio commercial this morning.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, like, you know, I don't want to hear how much inventory you have.
Now, he's gonna have to do something up on the hill, isn't he? Is he,
Which hill?
Yeah.
well, behind the garage? I think.
Yeah.
I think he's thinking of doing something there, maybe parking or,
But that wasn't, that
That
was
wasn't
not-
permitted, and he went through a
No.
wetland, so, you know, there's,
right.
So I've been thinking, is that a substantive change? Is that enough to kind of get him back before you? And
Is he still using it?
I think so. Yeah. In fact,
Well, I think that, yeah,
come spring, the
I
state's
would think
gonna.
both those issues, especially the Route 7 safety issue is. I mean, that's-
so, you know, my question to Jen simply in another conversation was, you know, as board members, you know, do we have any, not that I want to wear a badge, but do we have any authority just to go down and pleasantly talk to somebody since we are the board? But it sounds like maybe not so much. It needs to go
Yeah.
through planning and zoning.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah, you don't wanna be.
yeah, I guess I'd rather have things go through Jen.
Okay.
So I'll move forward with that and get that letter put together.
Yeah.
Had a complaint about some light levels out there. I think it was something along the lines of it looks like a NASA launch pad when I drive by, significantly brighter than the other lights.
I
So I
was
want-
looking, it looked like John Elway's car dealership.
So I'd like to purchase a light meter maybe and just take some readings and see if they're even remotely what was shown in the photometric plan
Yeah.
during the hearings.
You know, it's just, it's one thing, if we sit here and we pass judgment on something, and then you see somebody go out and, you know, maybe do something wrong, yeah, we can discuss it, but if there's a lot of things that aren't being adhered to, that we took our time, you know, out of our day to deal with and whatever, and it's not going the way that it should, it's, you know, it's a little bit upsetting.
And so this is a great place to bring up those concerns too, because there's a lot of decisions, like we were saying in our conversation, that were before I was here too. I mean, Denneker I've read, but you know, there's some that are like really old and that
Right.
might be some condition that I'm not aware of. Sometimes Skip Rush will call me and tell me about things that are going on. He remembers decisions he wrote back when, so.
Yeah, and it
Rouse
does,
Tires, you know, we kept after him, and
Yeah.
there'd be letters to him, and, you know, you gotta clean up around tires, and finally it pushed him into, he's doing something about it.
Which is not going nowhere, I understand.
Pardon me? Which is going nowhere?
It's going somewhere slowly, let's put it that way.
his new building that we
Yeah,
permitted in the back there.
yeah.
So the process would be if that we see something that isn't looking like it's been adhered to, we get in touch with Jen, kind of review what the actual decision was, and then, you know, I guess at your discretion, whether you, if it's glaring, there's a lot of things, then maybe it's worth
And
pursuing.
feel free to follow
if
up with
it's-
me if it seems like I'm taking a long time. I might have a reason for that.
Yep.
or- Yeah.
Well, certainly safety is one of the 12, is it 12 criteria?
Well, it's, yeah, well, it's, yes. Yeah, I think the safety, the
Road
the
safety.
Route 7
Right.
unloading is,
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're a
we've
violation.
had to live because of the situation, but when we have a chance to correct that, and it's not happening,
right.
it's, you know, it's not saving a
Well-
lot of people, including the truck driver.
And we've been patient during construction.
Yes, we have.
Yep.
I think we've been.
Okay.
So that was my other business.
Anything else? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second, that.
Been seconded. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.